What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is the 1 month review of the Puma Future in this awesome Tricks colorway. I have really enjoyed wearing these boots, but they do have quite a bit of drawbacks, which I do want to talk about in this video. Since the 1 month review of that launch colorway of that purple and orange Puma Future Ultimate, there's been some things that I've run into issues-wise that I do want to cover in this video, and most of those ratings from those football boots have actually gone down a little bit, and we'll talk about why. So let's first talk about the sole plate of this football boot, which has been honestly one of the issues with me with training on artificial ground. So as you guys know, and I talked about in the initial review, these studs are much longer than a lot of the other FG variations. These studs are almost as long as some of the metal studs that I have on my SG boots, which is crazy. I don't know why they made them so long, especially given that they market this as a AG/FG football boot, which is wild to me. In my opinion, these are way too long to play on AG with, and I will stand by that statement. I have trained on AG pitches with these. I have a buddy of mine who wears the Tricks colorway and the Launch colorway, one of my teammates, and I will say that both of us have talked very openly about how long these studs are and how occasionally when pivoting and stuff, there just doesn't seem to be any sort of give when you put your foot into the AG pitches. That being said, if you're somebody who plays on FG pitches, like the one right over here, it is totally suitable. FG pitches, you'd be no issues. These will be absolutely perfect for you. The sole plate, from a responsiveness perspective, is actually quite responsive. It's got a nice feel underfoot on an FG pitch. On AG pitch, because the studs are so long, it does give me a little bit of stud pressure, basically not in necessarily a negative way, but I'm very aware of where each of the studs are on the bottom of my feet. Because they're so long, you kind of sit above the grass, which is not something I enjoy. And so for me, this sole plate, I'm gonna probably knock down a few points compared to last video. This will be a little bit different just because I've had months now to play in these. These are a 5 out of 10 for the sole plate and stud pattern. The heel area of this football boot is really nice when you first get in. One of the things that I found it did for my foot type, which tends to have, I have a pretty wide toe box, a wide midfoot, and then a very thin heel area. And there's just there's a little bit too much space in the heel area for my foot. And so I actually get some slippage right here on the outside, on the lateral side of both feet of the heel. So I've got some little blood blisters or whatever that go kind of right on the bottom as it transitions into my Achilles tendon, and that's really uncomfortable when you're pivoting, when you're turning. What that does also is, because the studs are so long and I play on AG pitches most of the time, as the boot sinks into the AG and there's not a lot of bite, my foot is what moves inside. I imagine playing on FG pitches, I might actually not have that much heel slippage, but for the AG pitches that I play on most of the time, these just have a little bit of heel slippage from my heel, and so they're not gonna get a very good rating. They're a little bit uncomfortable, and I found them to give me a little bit of irritation on that bottom lateral side. So for me, these are gonna get a 6 out of 10 for the heel area. Now let's talk about the upper material, which in my opinion is the shining quality of this football boot outside of the fit and the shape. This Fusion Fit 360 dual mesh upper, crazy name, fix that, Puma. This upper is really sensational, and the reason for that is because it molds to your foot almost instantly. It's got an excellent touch on the ball. It's like the kind of the perfect, it's a little bit padded, but also thin enough to really feel the ball, which is awesome. And because the Fusion Fit 360 dual mesh upper runs the entire length of the football boot, as opposed to the 1.4, which kind of had that Fusion Fit band in the middle, which split up the forefoot and the heel area, and it was kind of all over the place as far as materials go. They just went with a singular piece for the upper, and I think that is to the benefit of all the players who wear this football boot. It really is an awesome upper with a little bit of texturing as well, so you have just a slight little grip on the ball. Nothing like a GX, you're not going to get any sticky sensation, but it does have a nice grip on the ball, so in wet conditions you still have a sense that the ball's not just going to slip out of your foot when you take a touch. For me, this is a fantastic upper. It's not the top echelon, but it's just gonna get knocked down a little bit just because of some of the lockdown issues, which we'll talk about in a second. But for me, this upper is an 8.5 out of 10. Lockdown of this football boot suffers a little bit just because of the upper, the way it is so soft. This power tape does a pretty good job of keeping your feet locked in just a little bit. It's definitely better than if it didn't have power tape, but for me, this does suffer a little bit in the lockdown department, especially on the lateral and medial side. There just isn't enough grab as you pull the laces tight. And so for me, this is gonna get a 7 out of 10 for lockdown, just not quite where maybe it should be for a boot that's made for the types of players like Neymar Jr. Breakin Time for the Puma Future Ultimate Tricks is actually really good. Similar to the launch colorway, I found that these break in really well, much better than previous generations of Puma Future, and for that reason it's going to get pretty average rating, a little bit above average rating, because of this one-piece upper material. Essentially, once the upper is broken in whatever area of the foot you have the most issues breaking in, the rest of the boot is immediately surrounds your foot, gives you a really nice wrap and stuff. So for me, the break-in time is going to get a 7.5 out of 10. Durability and build quality is where this boot suffers, I think, the most. It is when you have it in hand and you get it out of the box, it does feel premium. As you break it in though, and as this gets a little bit soft, it does feel a little bit lackluster as far as quality goes. The only reason for that is just because the upper is so soft, it kind of lacks structure once you break it in, and the durability, especially on the seams of the upper and the outsole, I think struggle a little bit, especially on AG pitches. And for a boot that's marketed towards FG and AG, they say, hey, you can wear it for either, and it's perfectly suitable. I don't think that's true. I think that's poor marketing. I think that's, it's not necessarily a straight lie, but it's not perfectly correct. The other thing that I've actually run into is, I don't think it's on this one, I think it's on the other one, but the heel liner here, the suede padded heel liner, there's padding, and then there's a suede piece that goes over it as you put your heel in there, and that suede lining has actually ripped off of the sole plate for some reason. So there's kind of some flappy material in the back here and some separation of the sole plate. So, and I've only had these since that first review came out probably a month and a half ago now. So for me, this is gonna struggle a little bit with durability and build quality. For me, this is a 5 out of 10. Shape and fit of this football boot is also where this boot shines like crazy. It's got a wonderful shape to it. It really is one of the most comfortable football boots to just slip your foot in and be super comfortable. The knit is really snug, but it's not too tight, which is awesome. And the general shape is gonna fit most foot types, even if you have pretty wide feet. It's got a decently wide toe box, and of course, this Fusion Fit 360 dual mesh upper is gonna stretch quite a bit. And so for me, this gets a 9 out of 10 for shape and fit. And also on that note for shape and fit, I do go half a size down because this boot does fit about a quarter to a half a size long. And so I would recommend, if you're somebody who has not excessively wide feet, if you have pretty normal feet, medium, whatever, I would go half a size down to get the best possible fit. Competition for this football boot is a couple different ones. So for me, this competes mostly with the GX, the Tequila from New Balance, kind of the Predator a little bit, and also, excuse me, a little bug there, and also the brand new Phantom Luna, which as of the filming of this video, I actually haven't tried yet. I haven't even seen it in person, but it is a knit or grip knit based upper, so I'm gonna assume it's gonna be sort of in this same kind of control category. I haven't tried the Phantom Luna, so that I'm gonna push to the side a little bit just because I haven't actually had it in hand. But for me, this is a really nice option for a lot of people, and so for me, because it also has laces, I like the fit of the Tequila better. The GX for me is the top of that list of like knit or grip knit based football boots. But for me, this is gonna go second to the GX, and then it's just gonna edge out the Tequila, even though if the Tequila had laces, I would probably pick that over this, just because of the way that that sole plate fits and that sole plate feels on artificial ground. It's amazing, and it's got a really decent amount of lockdown. So for me, really, really solid option for a lot of people, but the durability of the GX and the durability of the New Balance Tequila just kind of edge this one out in a lot of ways. And so for me, after long periods of testing with this one, that's how I would compare it to the competition. Performance of the football boot is pretty good. Again, with some of the lockdown issues, some of the heel slippage that I have, it doesn't quite make top marks. And for me, this is gonna get a 7 out of 10 just because of the way that the upper starts to break down and some of the durability issues that it has. So for me, 7 out of 10 for performance. Overall rating for the Puma Future Ultimate is gonna be pretty average. It's gonna be a little bit above average because of how it fits and how the shape and all that is in the upper material. But for me, this football boot just isn't quite as good as I want it to be. Unfortunately, Puma with the Ultra Ultimate, which I really don't like, the fit of that is just not great. I haven't tried the brand new version that just came out for the Women's World Cup, but I do think that this is a very comfortable football boot. If you're somebody who plays on FG pitches, I reckon this would be such a great option for you. Just be careful of that durability. But if you're somebody who plays on AG pitches, I don't know if I can recommend this after now several months of wearing this new Future Ultimate line, just because of the way that the sole plate feels on ground, on an AG pitch, and just how the rest of that boot functions as far as durability goes. It's just, I don't know if it's something that I can recommend. I probably, for the same shape or kind of feeling of it, but with a little bit enhanced grip, I would go for the GX. If you're looking for something and you're okay with a laceless football boot, I might recommend the Tequila over this one. It's just one of those things. So for me, the overall rating is gonna get a 7.5 out of 10. Hope you guys enjoyed that 1 month review of the Puma Future Ultimate. Again, might be a little surprising because of how high the praise was for the first kind of low top generation. That's another thing. The low top versus the high top makes absolutely no difference. They fit the exact same. It's just an extra bit of material on the top of the collar. You don't really even feel it while you're playing. So for me, this is a great football boot. It is really comfortable. The shape is beautiful for most foot types. The upper feels great on ball. But again, some of the drawbacks are that durability, are some of the heel slippage that I get with it. You may not have the same issues, hopefully. But for me, this is just not gonna make my normal rotation. I'll wear it every once in a while for a training session or a fun techie session, but for me, it's just not quite at the upper echelon of what I'm looking for. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.